It was against the, let's see if I can remember. Hello, my friends. Welcome to my channel. My name is Caitlin. I usually feel like I say welcome back, and I was realizing that like when somebody comes to your house, you just welcome them. You don't necessarily welcome them back. So I'm just gonna welcome people from here on out, whether you've been here before or it's your first time. Welcome. I like to do these videos that include my two favorite interests, first being makeup, second being football. So the way that I like to do it is that I do my makeup while talking about, so far we're just going to focus on one team from the NFL. I don't know why I'm saying we, it's just me, but you know, for the people who like to watch these, I guess I'm including you in this. I am a big fan of Bailey Sarian's Monday or Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Monday videos. That's where she does her makeup, and while she does her makeup, she talks about a true crime story. I'm going to link her channel in the description box below. You should definitely check her out, especially if you like true crime. Those are really cool videos. I wanted to do, you know, something similar where I'm just doing my makeup, but I wanted to talk about football just because I feel like, you know, there's probably people out there who either like both of those things like me or who like one of them and want to learn more about the other one. So I thought, well, let's just, you know, do this together. Anyway, I hope that for those of you that have been here before, we have like a nice chill vibe and you just like hanging out and hearing me talk about football or what have you and watching me do my makeup. And for those of you that are here for the first time, I hope you subscribe and want to hang out and come back and check out some other videos. We do some makeup only videos here as well. It's not all football related. So I've done two of these so far, the 49ers and the Chiefs. That was leading up to the Super Bowl. Now that the Super Bowl's over, we have 30 other teams that we need to talk about. So if you didn't catch on from the title already, we're going to be talking about the Arizona Cardinals today. Alrighty, so I have already primed my eyelids, set it with powder, primed my face, set it with powder, and done my eyebrows. So this isn't a full face of makeup that you're watching me do, but I just, you know, for honesty purposes, I didn't want you to think my face naturally looks like this. We've already done some things. All right, so let's see. We're talking about the Cardinals, as I already said. And the Cardinals were in last place in the NFC West, which for those of you who maybe are here to learn more about football and you don't know, there are different conferences. So there's two conferences in the NFL. There is the NFC, which is the National Football Conference, and the AFC, which is I think it's the American Football Conference. Anyway, so those two conferences have a total of 16 teams each, so there's 32 total teams in the NFL. And then they each have 4 divisions that have 4 teams in them because, you know, 4 times 4 is 16. Anyways, the divisions are Northeast, Southwest, so you have the AFC North, AFC East, etc., and then the NFC South, NFC West, etc. So the Cardinals are in the NFC West, and they were in last place in the division this year. They were definitely in last place in the division last year too. I can't remember if they were the year before as well. So, you know, not great, but two of the teams in the NFC West are the 49ers and Seahawks, and they were both in the playoffs this year. So, you know, I think context is kind of important there. And then the Rams are the other team. The Rams are the other team in the NFC West, and they were in the Super Bowl, not this past Super Bowl, but obviously, but the year before. So, you know, it's a pretty good division. So I think that's important to note. So the Cardinals record this season was 5-10-1, which, you know, is not awesome, but it could be worse. In fact, it was worse. The year before they were 3-13 and had the first pick in the draft, meaning they were the absolute worst team in the league. So, you know, 5-10-1 is an improvement. So the Cardinals, obviously they won 5 games. It was against let's see if I can remember this off the top of my head, Bengals. It was the Bengals, and this isn't in order, so I'm just going to go Bengals, Browns, Falcons, Giants, Seahawks. I remembered it. Anyway, those were the 5 teams that they beat. On average, they won their games by about 7.6 points per game. I just did that by adding however many points they won by in each of those 5 games and dividing that by 5, because math. Anyway, So they won by 7.6 on average. And then their losses, they lost 10 games. I know they lost to the 49ers twice. And then I'm going to test myself, see if I remember this. They lost to the 49ers twice. They lost to the Rams twice. They lost to the Steelers. They lost to the Ravens, the Saints, the Buccaneers, and Hawks one other time. For those of you that don't know the team, so the NFC West, like I said, are the Seahawks, 49ers, Rams, Cardinals. So the Cardinals played the other three teams twice. That's how every season goes, every division. They play their other teams in their division 2 times each. Who am I missing? Panthers. Okay, so those are the 10 teams they lost to make it easier because I got distracted. So they lost to the Ravens, Panthers, Seahawks, Saints, 49ers, Bucks, 49ers, Rams, Steelers, Rams. That's the 10 in order. And they lost, I did the same, mathematical calculations, and they lost by about 11.9 points per game. So, relatively close. It's actually, I feel like that's a little bit deceiving because some of their games they really did get blown out in, but some of their games they only lost by like 3 points, and obviously that's how averages work. But I think it's cool to look and see that they were overall pretty close in some of their games. I didn't watch every game. I did watch that Buccaneers one, and I remember that being BS. They only lost by a field goal, but I really think they should have won that game. So anyways, moving along, I'm still salty about it. The tie came to the Lions, and it was the first game of the season, which I felt like was such a Cardinals thing to have happen. Like, we got this new coach, this new quarterback. People are like, let's see what they can do. And it was like, they did some things good and they did some things bad. And it was just like, like it wasn't anything. And I just feel like that's very on brand for the Cardinals. So in 2018, the Cardinals scored 225 points total and averaged 14.1 points per game. Their turnover differential was minus 12, meaning, okay, so I need my hands for this. So when the ball is turned over, I'm just explaining it for maybe those of you that are interested in makeup and want to learn more about football. So when the offense is in possession of the ball, if they lose possession of the ball, I guess it could happen on special teams too. Anyway, when your team has possession of the ball, either on offense or special teams, and they give possession of the ball to the other team, not by kicking it, but by like they're supposed to have it and they give it up, that is considered a turnover. And then if the defense, or again, it could be special. I feel like special teams is throwing it off. So just for a really simplistic reasoning or explanation, we'll just focus on offense, defense, and we'll talk about special teams on another day. But offense, when they have possession of the ball, if they there's 2 different types of turnovers. You either fumble it or it's an interception. An interception is when the offense, so the quarterback, throws the ball and then the defense catches the ball versus the offense catching the ball, if that makes sense. So the opposite team catches the ball. Fumbling it, if they drop the ball and it hits the ground, and instead of the team that's supposed to have possession of the ball, them landing on it, the other team lands on it, that's a turnover. Okay, those are turnovers. Now, you don't want your team to turn the ball over. So having a differential of minus 12 means that the Cardinals turned the ball over 12 more times than they got turnovers, if that makes sense. So that is not great, Bob. It's not good at all. So that was 2018. In 2019, they scored a total of 361 points and averaged 22.6 points per game, which is quite a bit more than what they had done before. And the turnover differential was minus 1, meaning they only turned the ball over 1 more time than they recovered turnovers. So a vast improvement. Last season, the Cardinals made some big changes at the coach and quarterback position, which is actually kind of interesting because the Cardinals the year prior had also got a they got a new head coach and a quarterback, Josh Rosen, and they stuck around with that for 1 year and then fired their coach, hired Kliff Kingsbury, who drafted Kyler Murray in the first round of the draft. So that was So that was, I feel like, unique. I don't know that a lot of teams have done that. You typically want to give some time for your new coach and quarterback to see, you know, if you actually want to go with them or not. But I mean, I watched some Cardinals games in the 2018 season and it really seemed hopeless. So I don't know that I really fault them a whole lot for that. But, you know, let me know if you disagree. So anywho, they made the big changes. Like I said, they hired Kliff Kingsbury. He was the head coach at Texas Tech. Texas Tech had fired him, and, you know, talk about failing upwards. He ended up with a head coaching job in the NFL, which, you know, good for him. I think it was part of this there was kind of this movement. Sean McVay is the head coach of the Rams, and he's a young offensive-minded coach, and so I think a lot of teams in the NFL were trying to replicate the success that the Rams had with hiring him. So I think he benefited from that a little bit. So for those of you that watched the Cardinals in 2018 and then watched this 2019 season, I'm sure you felt a difference. At least I did. Like I said, I didn't watch every game. So, but I felt like overall the Cardinals seemed to be in their games more, like they actually had a chance, whereas, like I said before, it was pretty hopeless. Kliff Kingsbury is an offensive-minded quarterback. He's known for running the air raid offense, which I wanted to explain, but I didn't know how to explain it without making it super confusing. Please reference back to my attempt at explaining the explaining turnovers. Anyways, we're just going to pretend that didn't happen. So the air raid offense, it's basically what it sounds like. So on offense, you're either running the ball, so you're on the ground, or you're throwing the ball, it's in the air. So the air raid offense is essentially a majority passing plays versus running plays. But what was interesting is that the Cardinals ended up being one of the top 10 rushing offenses in the league. And I think that was kind of a surprise given what, you know, Kingsbury is known for. So that was, you know, exciting. And the Cardinals did have a good offense this season, or a passing offense this season. It just wasn't one of the top 10. The offense overall improved quite a bit, just across the board. So I don't want to make it sound like they were only good at running, but they were better at running than passing, or at least more efficient at running than passing. And so that was surprising, just given, like I said, what he's known for. I'm adding orange. Well, it's like a tannish orange to try and make this look more red than purple. And things are going interesting over here. Also, peep the shirt. I actually have a Cardinals shirt this time, so that, whereas I didn't have 49ers or Chiefs apparel in my life, this is not actually my shirt. This is my boyfriend's shirt. He likes the Cardinals. So for any of you that care, I think I was over blending, and that's why it was getting more of like it was turning like a pinky purple because I was blending it out too much. But I think now we actually have a red, folks. So a big part of this very successful offense that they have created is Kyler Murray, which you guys may have heard of him. He was the number 1 overall draft pick in 2019. Obviously went to the Cardinals, and he was also the offensive rookie player of the year. So yay, Kyler. So on the season, I'm reading this because I can't memorize all this. Okay. On the season, he completed 64.4% of his passes for 3,722 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. He also added 544 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. So those first set of stats were his, obviously, passing stats. And yeah, so he is a dual threat quarterback. He's, you know, can pass, he can run, he can do lots of things. So did my eyeliner because I can't do that and talk at the same time. But going back to what I was talking about, Kyler Murray was pretty good this year, his rookie year. The I saw an article on cardswire.com. Will be linked down below. I don't know why I started talking, because I need to finish cleaning this up and then come back. Okay, I'm back. So I saw this article on cardswire.com where they, and like I said, if I didn't edit it out already, I'll link it in my description box down below. But basically it said that the Cardinals offensive line gave up, I should probably be doing my makeup. The offensive line for the Cardinals gave up approximately 50 sacks this season. I'm sure it gave an actual number. I can't remember if it was actually 50 or if I just wrote approximately 50. But they gave up 50 sacks this season, which is not great. And let's see. You know what? We're just going to fast forward through this part. The article mentioned that the running game was one of the best in the league, which I already said it was a top 10 running game that they had. So, rushing offense, whatever. And your offensive line has to be like relatively good for your running game to be any good. So, what was interesting about this Cardinals Wire article that I read was that ESPN had created this stat called what is it called? Pass block win rate. Pass block win rate. And this means it's the, amount of time, like percentage of time that offensive linemen hold their blocks for 2.5 seconds or longer. And so the Cardinals, ranked 10th in the league on the pass block win rate, which I was kind of surprised by. And then specifically the center, A.Q. Shipley, ranked 5th among centers in the league, and so he won the pass block win rate. So he held his block for 2.5 seconds or longer 96% of the time. I thought that was interesting just because and we should probably start with the fact that stats only show so much. Like they look at, you can create stats to tell whatever story you want to tell. But just as somebody who watched some of the games this season and then last season, like their offensive line has not been good. And I was actually a bit disappointed last season when they didn't, in the off season, didn't work on addressing the offensive line needs as much as I felt like they should have. But who am I? Nobody pays me for my opinion. So I just thought I was just a little bit disappointed with how they handled that. But the offensive line did improve this season compared to last. But I wouldn't say that they're great because, the Cards Wire article I read had said that, Murray's a mobile quarterback. He holds onto the ball longer statistically. So, the offensive line can only do so much to help him avoid being sacked, which I think is true to an extent. But if you watch Murray, there's a difference between a quarterback holding onto the ball because they can't, decide what they're going to do and they're just kind of standing there and are, can't make a decision. And then there's the quarterbacks that are running around for their life because they're facing pressure immediately and then they're holding onto the ball longer because they can't make a play because they're just being chased. And I think that is the case some of the time for the Cardinals. So looking towards the draft and the upcoming season, the Cardinals have $54 million in cap space. Sorry, trying to snatch this jawline. Anyways, so the Cardinals have $54 million in cap space. They're I think when I looked at the cap space, or what is the website called? I didn't link it down below because it's just if you just Google 2020 cap space, it's the first one that comes up. That just lists every team's cap space amount. And so I think the Cardinals were 14th or something like that on that website. And so there's other teams that have a little bit more cap space than they do, but they still have quite a bit. Of the $54 million, I think Michael Bidwell, the owner of the Cardinals, was on 98.7 the other day, and he was saying that obviously all 54 million isn't going towards free agency. Some of that's going to go towards the draft. And then they also said that, you know, they plan to extend some of the guys that are up for extensions. So they expect to use up some of it for that. So the article I was reading from ArizonaSports.com had mentioned that this was likely going to be DJ Humphries and Kenyan Drake. DJ Humphries is one of the offensive linemen, and Kenyan Drake is one of the running backs that the Cardinals had this season. And I think that, to me, Kenyan Drake would be a huge priority for the Cardinals, or should be, because he was a part of that successful running game that they had. And then DJ Humphries, I don't know. I feel like I see like a love-hate relationship with him when I see fans like Cardinals fans tweet about the games. So let me know if you're a Cardinals fan. Let me know. You love DJ Humphries, you hate him. It looks like he made some improvements this year, and the Cardinals are likely going to keep him around. Because of that. But I just want to hear your thoughts on that. Moving along, there's this show called Hard Knocks. It's, for those that are unfamiliar with it, it's a show on HBO that airs before the NFL season starts. And it's, there's three criteria that the team that is on Hard Knocks has to meet. And so basically they can't have made the playoff in the last 2 years. It can't be their head coach's first year coaching, and like not in general, but like for the team, and the team itself can't have been on Hard Knocks in the last 10 years. So there are 5 teams that meet that criteria this year, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers, Detroit Lions, Jacksonville Jaguars, Arizona Cardinals, and Denver Broncos. So on the CBS Sports article that I read about it, they had said that their opinion was that the Cardinals would be the most interesting of those 5 teams to watch, which I agree. I think it would be, just with all the new pieces that they have in play, and between, Kyler Murray and Kliff Kingsbury are exciting, young offensive, like an offensive-minded head coach that's new to the scene, and then a young, really talented offensive quarterback. I think it would be fun to watch them on Hard Knocks. So we'll see. What was interesting is Michael Bidwell had actually said he wouldn't mind if the Cardinals were on Hard Knocks, which most teams don't want to be on it. But he had actually said that he wouldn't mind if they were. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. So now let's talk about the draft. That is happening, I think it's April 22nd and 23rd. Of this year. It's usually towards the end of April, middle or end of April, because sometimes it's my birthday weekend. But the Cardinals, I think they have a pick in each round, if I'm not mistaken. There's the first through 7. There's 7 rounds. I think they have a pick in each round. Anyways, I know that they have the 8th overall pick in the first round, so they're one of the top 10 picks. Which is a good spot to be. And I mean, last year they got to take whoever they wanted because they had the number 1 pick, but and that worked out for them since he ended up being the offensive rookie of the year. So we'll see. What was I going to say? Bleacher Report had an article about the draft and said that they thought the Cardinals would be taking offensive tackle Andrew Thomas from Georgia with their first round pick. And they just had said that the Cardinals' goal is going to be protecting Kyler Murray, and that, drafting him would be a way to do that. Obviously, at this point, talking about free agency hasn't even started or happened yet. So, meaning like all of the trading that's going to happen, and with veterans among other teams. So it's hard to say, who's going to be drafting who and where and all of that. So it's kind of, and that happens every year. It's always hard to predict at this point of the year. But I feel like there's a lot of teams with some things up in the air. So it'll be interesting to see how free agency shakes out, and then how that kind of impacts what the draft is going to look at like. But I read, let's see, a CBS. I always do this. I always try and talk while I'm doing this. So I also read a CBS Sports article, which talked about the Cardinals' greatest needs. And I'm going to do that in a second because we have to do our eyeliner first. Per this CBS Sports article, the biggest offensive needs, the biggest off-season needs for the Cardinals is offensive tackle, edge rusher, cornerback, interior offensive lineman, linebacker, defensive lineman, tight end, running back, safety, wide receiver, which is a lot of needs to have. But the article went on to say like prospects for fans of the Cardinals to pay attention to. Okay. Tristan Wirfs from Iowa is an offensive tackle. There's debate about which position he would be best at in the NFL. So like one side says that he's going to be better as an offensive tackle. The other side says that he's going to be better suited at, the other side's argument says that he's going to be better suited as a guard. The Cardinals need help at both positions. So this might be a good landing spot for him because they could benefit from him either way. So let's take a look here. The next player that they mentioned was, I think, let's say it, Julian Okwara. I think that's how you say his name. He is an edge rusher from Notre Dame. They had said that he's really quick. He's really quick coming off the edge, but he does have some like more fine tuning and development that's needed for him to be successful in the league. But the Cardinals obviously have Chandler Jones, he's amazing and probably one of the best edge rushers in like ever. I would argue ever. Definitely currently. And so they were just saying that like having him be like a veteran teacher to Okwara would be, that would be a good spot for him. And like I said, that was one of the needs that they have is edge rusher, so they can get additional help for Chandler Jones. All right, and lastly, we have that they listed is Azra Cleveland, who is a offensive tackle from Boise State. They said that this year's draft class, as far as offensive tackles go, is pretty solid, so he's likely gonna go day 2. But he's a good pick up for the Cardinals. Like I said, their offensive line is really a big need for them. They have quite a few positions on that side of the ball, but specifically the line itself. They have quite a few positions that they need to address. Okay, so I'm gonna go do liners, lips, my hair, and then I'll be back. Okay, so final thoughts first. The Cardinals really have a chance to improve their offensive line this offseason with free agency and the draft. It seemed, with it being such a deeply talented offensive tackle draft class, I think, there's a good chance that the Cardinals are going to take an offensive tackle in the draft, and hopefully they get a good one out of the bunch. And let's see, so personally, I think, once the Cardinals get that offensive line a little bit stronger, it'll be even more fun to watch Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense. I'm really excited to see what he does in his second year and, what Kliff Kingsbury does offensively, with his schemes and everything. The defense also has room for improvement before, the Cardinals, I think, could make a playoff run. Hopefully they address that between free agency and the draft. Let's see. But yeah, those are just my thoughts and opinions. Sports are a good time because we can all think different things, and none of it really matters until the free agency and the draft. All of it plays out and they're actually playing, and you could totally disagree with me. If you do, leave a comment. Let's talk about it. I love hearing other people's opinions. especially on teams that aren't my favorite team. If you disagree with me about my favorite team, then I get a little salty. But any other teams, I'm very open-minded and capable of having, you know, a conversation about that. So this is the final look. I used this Melt Cosmetics, the Crushed Glitter Gloss. I used the Melt Cosmetics Crush Glitter Gloss in As If. Obviously, it's not black on the lips. I think it would look really pretty with a dark lipstick, but the eyes were so dramatic. I didn't want to do a super dark lip with that. But anyway, I just did this by itself. I tried it with I had one nude lipstick that was like pinky base that I used this with, and it looked pretty, but it was like almost like too cool toned with how warm the red is on the eyes. So then I tried like a neutral, which obviously this is like a cool toned lip gloss with just a more warm tone neutral lipstick. Did not look good together. So then I just went with my natural lip color, and which means no lipstick, and I just put that on top. But I like how it turned out. But anyway, this is the final look. Let me know what you guys think. I tried to do like a black liner, like to drag out like the inner corner, but my eyes are watery because of allergies, and so it just turned into a massive mess. So then we tried to save it with the yellow, which if you look, I mean, this is a very old Cardinal shirt, very faded, but you can see it has like a yellow beak. That's what we were going for. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had fun making it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time it is when you're watching this, and fingers crossed I see you next time. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and let me know which team you want to see next, or what video in general, type of video you want to see next, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!